Hello and welcome back to the Beefy Tech channel. You may have noticed that my channel does quite a couple performance tests for Warzone in specific, and it's because it's the main game I play and the game I enjoy testing most. Now, one thing I love to do is at the start of every single season, jump in and test the performance of all the maps, and the reason I do this is so at a later date I can just go onto the video and see exactly what the performance during the start of a season was. And what you may notice is that I indeed do have the Warzone 2 Season 6 performance numbers within a YouTube video, and I do also have the Warzone Season 1 of the integration with Modern Warfare 3 performance numbers, and I have some really good news to show you guys. So, first things first, let's talk about the performance numbers of Season 6. During this period, we spoke about how Vondel had a big issue with the resizable bar turned on. When you looked center map, you'd get like massive dips in performance that were pretty much incomprehensibly bad. Now, what you're seeing right here is resizable bar turned on. So, you'll notice that I'm currently getting about 180 FPS in this exact spot, looking center map. With resizable bar turned off, which this is right here, so the next frame we just jumped into is resizable bar off, the performance improved drastically within Vondel. You may indeed notice that even though the performance improved, the GPU usage only sits at about 62%. Moving on to the very next frame of the video, the 360 FPS with 307 in the lows is what you're seeing when I started looking to the right hand side rather than directly at the middle of the map. So basically, there's sort of a bug with the game, where looking middle of the map, or at least there used to be a bug, would hit your FPS drastically versus looking off to the sides. Right, we are here in Warzone Season 1 integration of Modern Warfare 3, and we're gonna test that exact same spot and see how the performance differs. And what you may notice, that with resizable bar disabled also, which mind you before was better than resize bar on, 1-to-1 it's getting about 80 more FPS, which in itself is absolutely amazing. Not to mention the 1% lows are incredibly solid. This area with resize bar on in Warzone Season 6 was only getting 180 FPS on the exact same rig. Clicking over to the right hand side, which before showed us about 350 to 360 FPS, you may notice that now it's about 380 to 390 FPS, which is an absolutely incredible improvement. It's as if you just upgraded your computer, but you didn't, and it came out of a freaking update. So, for you guys that are complaining that the game looks worse, it does at least have the benefit of performing significantly better on the CPU and GPU side of things. You may notice that now the GPU usage is about 85 to 86%, whereas before we were looking between 60 to 65% best case scenario. So, Vondel with resizable bar off, after the integration, performs incredibly well, and I'd even argue and say that it's fixed fully in terms of performance. Just because I know some of you may be curious, I also decided to enable resizable bar for Vondel and do the exact same test. And as you may notice, with resizable bar on, you do actually get a little less performance looking center map in Vondel, albeit not by a substantial amount, but less is less, and I thought I'd let you know. Looking off to the side, the story is about the same. It's pretty much identical to rebar turned off on the sides, but it's usually the center of the map that gets hit the hardest with resizable bar turned on. So, for Vondel, theoretically, turning off resizable bar is still better, but you're not going to want to just be turning it on and off depending on what map you're playing. You're going to want to have one on. And basically, that is just up to you. The differences are very small, so you could also just leave resizable bar on and call it a day. And you might be wondering, what about Ashika Island? Well, I haven't really covered this map much because it was one of the better functioning maps that didn't need much coverage. But I do have a video from a couple months back, about 3 or so, where I had a 335 FPS average with 1% lows of 263. Mind you, this is with a 7950 X3D, not with a 7800 X3D, so the results do differ to a certain degree. These are not going to be one-to-one scientific, I'm just letting you know. But you may see that resizable bar on at the time was better on Ashika Island than resizable bar off, and we'll have to verify that too right now to see if after the Modern Warfare 3 integration that has changed and to see how the performance differs. As we jump into the Ashika match, I wanted to mention one very important thing. Ashika used to have a problem, just like Vondel, where in specific spots you would get lower FPS. And I'm gonna go over those spots and double check, see if they still do actually have that issue. I don't have footage to show the issue, sadly, because I never really bothered to go through specific literal spots and look at them just to see what the problem is, but basically we're gonna double check and see if that's fixed too, along with the FPS. Alright, we're gonna be doing the exact same run that I did in the video a couple months back, specifically to see how the FPS holds. I basically just run across the Ashika castle while I'm muted, attempting to not get my cheeks clapped by the guys to my right. So, this is resizable bar turned off. Yes, you heard that right. Resizable bar turned completely off. We are 100% GPU bound at 360 plus FPS, up from 310 with resizable bar off prior to the integration. Holy moly. That is absolutely amazing. I'm being hunted, so we're gonna have to do this quickly, but basically you're gonna have to take my word for it when I say that when you used to look exactly at this buy station from here and you'd be running towards the center of the map from the outside, the FPS would drop to about 200. So yes, very, very low from the usual Ashika stuff. And you may notice that that simply does not happen anywhere in the general vicinity of the middle of the map anymore. It's a consistent 300 plus down the lows, and then if you look on the outskirts, it's a lot more. But then again, going from 400 to 300 is far more plausible than going from 300 to 200, so it's yet again absolutely massive gains for Ashika Island with resizable bar turned off. I'm now going to turn on resizable bar and see exactly what the differences are versus it being off. Here we are with resizable bar turned on, all the same settings. We're going to start the 1% lows and begin moving forward. And you may notice already that the FPS is slightly better. Basically, we are still kind of hitting a full GPU bound scenario most of the time, even with resizable bar turned on, which is absolutely hilarious. It does go to show that even in the situations where you are GPU bound, disabling resizable bar doesn't make that huge of a difference, but when you are GPU bound, it does seem to actually still help performance, and this brings us up to 380 plus FPS in Ashika Island. Now that is even more incredible than before. Not to mention that it's basically a one-to-one result of how it used to be within the previous seasons in terms of how resizable bar works, but the FPS is all around higher, and looking this specific spot, it's even hitting 400, so yeah. Ashika Island and Vondel both massively benefit from the Warzone Season 1 integration of Modern Warfare 3. Let's quickly double check if those dips that I was talking about within Ashika Island also don't happen anymore with resizable bar turned on. We're gonna go to the same exact spot. And we're back here yet again, and yeah, it would actually appear that even this spot that used to give us 200 with rebar turned on doesn't do that anymore. Is it better than resize bar off? It's pretty much the same shit. It's not even much different. Looking off to the side, it would appear to be better than resize bar turned off. But yeah, looking inwards, I think it is slightly worse if I remember. It's very, very close. So like if we take the averages theoretically, look in this exact spot, I think it is mildly better than rebar off. But yeah, this basically means rebar off or on only makes a difference by a small amount, and that the game is still fixed. Now, they just popped the UAV tower, and that's not good because that means they might gap my shit, so I'm gonna quickly run this way. But yeah, guys, to sum it up, the game performs much better on all of the Resurgence maps, and very, very much so. It's not a tiny amount, it's humongous, and I'm just wondering, why didn't they do this earlier? If they could fix the game this easily, why didn't they do it? It's almost as if Infinity Ward didn't care, and Sledgehammer Games did a bit more. Maybe their engine's better optimized? Well, clearly it is, but yeah, I'm glad to say that you Resurgence players now get a free FPS boost for just having the integration installed, which is freaking awesome in my opinion. With that said, guys, I hope this video was informative and helpful. To sum up, if you should have resize bar on or off, up to you. It makes such a tiny difference that even if it's better with one on or off, it does not realistically make much of a difference. What you're going to want to keep in mind though is that rebar off might be more stable in some scenarios for some rigs specifically. rebar on will always be better for the GPU. In terms of like performance, you just have more GPU grunt if you have rebar turned on. With that said, guys, I really do hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Have a good one, and peace.